I was a siren and a witch in the satanic world and the second daughter of the Queen of the Sea and Ivory Coast, but the Lord has delivered me through the army of prayer. It was when my aunt gave me food that I became a witch. When I ate that food I received the spirit of witchcraft. At the night my aunt came and called my spirit out of the body 3 times. As a result I found myself out of my body. Since she came in the shape of a crow I jumped on her wing and she took me to the world of witches. This initiation was possible thanks to blood and hereditary covenant and bondage that gave her access in my life. When we arrive in the unseen world underwater I got off the back of the crow. I was instructed to kneel down before the Queen Mother and worship her. Her throne was surrounded by demons that were watching. There were also souls of men and women that were bound in chains. They were slaves. These victims of the satanic world were in delusion and confusion, but behind us there was a population of witches and wizards that was in celebration for my arrival and initiation. I was offered human blood and meat to eat. When I drank human blood I felt a force enter my body. After my initiation, I visited the marine world and was shown palaces and villas and kingdom of the marine world. I was seduced by cars, wealth and the glories of this world. The Queen told me, if you work for us these wealth and goods will be yours. Since I was poor in the physical I agreed to work for the Queen to have all these treasures in the marine kingdom. I signed a pact on a parchment that was on the table beside human bones. The moment I signed on this parchment there were applause of demon and agents of the Queen. The Queen told me, your powers are in your eyes, in your hands and your feet. My eyes were the seat of my power, for I perpetrated enchantment and bewitchment through eyes contact. I shot arrows of sickness through the eyes. I read people's thought through the eyes. Often I went to public places and through my eyes I was able to scan people's mind and heart, to check and search their heart and see whether they had bitterness, grudge or rancor in their heart. I was searching people's thought and mind to see if they were entertaining evil thought or not. Those who were not clean I was able to capture their spirit and take them to captivity beneath water. My attack was successful only whenever I found sin in the heart and mind of the people. The believer must keep his mind clean and his heart pure and holy, to avoid becoming vulnerable to the attacks of the enemy. My hand were also the seat of my power, for with my handshake to people I was able to steal their blessing and success and promotion. I attacked children with sickness, handicap and their mind. In truth I had 18 eyes to see, especially those who live in sin. I was able to see angels, and when they leave the life of people who persist in sin, the angel of the Lord guard the saints, but when the latter practice sin the angels withdraw. My eyes allowed me to see the spiritual life of the believer, and those who walk in sin were exposed by their sins. On my forehead I had the code 666 and the code 777 on my hand, and the code 613 on my feet. I had a snake in my genital. Whenever I slept with a man the snake devoured his star, blessing and destiny that were taken to the marine kingdom. I saw the life of many people, their status in the spirit and their behavior. A magic mirror enabled me to see the life of the believer during operation, and I saw those who failed to confess their sins, those who have evil thought, even after prayer, pastors that had preached in the church and went after ladies to fornicate. I watched the life of these people in the mirror. Those who live in sin are watched and monitored in the spirit world, and there is open door in their life, and they are bound in chain and taken to captivity. On my back I had a V code that served to steal people's soul. The moment a believer is not in good standing before God he was a target. Sin is a doorway. When a believer practices sin he is located by the satanic world. In my tongue there were a satanic code because I was serpent. Whenever I spoke with this serpent tongue my words caused ruin, destruction and division and separation of people that were previously together. My words had serpent venom because of the serpent tongue, and my words hurt people for there was turmoil whenever I spoke. There are members of churches whenever they speak there will be division, conflict and faction will be born. Their words hurt and harm and abuse. The siren gave me power to turn to a snake and cause division, even if there was no need for conflict between my parent. Whenever I enter the house and found them in peace my spirit will turn to a serpent. As a result my father mood will change and he will begin to speak against my mother and the peace will be removed in the house. I sow division at home. Already my father was my spiritual husband, therefore I wanted him to divorce my mother, and I caused division in the family, conflict and separation. I traveled to many homes to bite people and inject poison and bring enchantment and bewitchment. I brought sickness like diabetes. Those who lack Jesus Christ in their heart die and were taken to the spirit world. I also bite those who have Satan property and those live in sin. I was turning to a cockroach to operate like a scanner, to scan people, family and houses. I acted like a camera and spy, watching what was happening in people's life in order to report to the satanic world. Those, at night I tuned to a cat and made noise to cause fear and unease, and it is when there was fear that I enter. Some people become fearful whenever a cat is making noises. Fear is an open door. I also turned to mosquito to suck blood, that I took to the satanic world, where we drank it to get more strength. In order to summon witches to a meeting, I turned to a dog and began to bark in order to call witches out of their body for night gathering, and whenever I turned to a dragon I was full of hate and wickedness, and I had an urge to do harm, and I caused fight in pubic places, and those who fought were oppressed by the dragon in the spirit. Whenever my parent came back from prayer, I always checked their mind and heart to see if they had something that belonged to us and attack them. If their heart is not pure I would attack, and if their mind is evil thought I also attack. I always scan the thoughts of the believer to find something that belonged to the enemy. Whenever I molested people in the dream I left them with failure, curse and stagnation, for a seed of darkness was left in their spirit. We must learn to undo and destroy the effect of dream molestation, for these molestation in the dream caused the victim to become pregnant and give birth to baby that are demon in the spirit. The victim won't have children and won't get married because of dream molestation. Sex in the dream is extremely dangerous. Being a Christian we are not exempt from witchcraft activity unless we watch or pray. My father was a Christian, but he had the issue of fear and got angry easily. Even after prayer and after preaching he would lose his temper just like that, and this gave me an access and open door to attack him. We had access easily. I operated like serpent in the life of my father, and I bited him and injected venom in his life. In fact I monitored and controlled his life, finance and progress. He was my spiritual husband, and as a snake I rolled on his life and body, and he suffered pain in the feet. Let there be no filthiness nor foolish talk nor crude joking, which are out of place, but instead let there be thanksgiving. So-called little sin and door that we open by keeping the devil property give the enemy advantage. Despite the spiritual level of my father, a servant preacher, I his daughter literally mistreated him and became his spiritual partner, and a snake enter his life to inflict him illnesses and all sorts of poverty and limitation. When I slept with him and a snake swallow his blessing and successes, they stagnated, but they were Christians, but they had 1 foot in and 1 foot out. They were carnal. The most important thing is not to go to church but to fear God. I fought her business. Whenever someone wanted to give her money I intervene and block everything. I block it in the spirit. When a child is a witch he respect nobody because of his position in the spirit, and since I was a queen ordering people around I had the same attitude in the physical, giving people order. Those who don't submit are whipped by demon and were punished. All my family were my slave in the spirit. I commanded them, so I was rude and had the tendency to control and dominate. I killed a man in human sacrifice in order to become a queen, and I was handed a territory. We also take seeds to make strands to also make ointments, and the hair attachment we see on earth here are the hair of water mermaid. We must make the effort to walk according to the word of God and above all live in holiness at the level of thoughts of body and soul, otherwise we are captives of demons. I stole my father's finances when he was supposed to have the money. I already knew. I alerted the spiritual world. So I transformed myself into a mouse and I came to eat my parents' money. And this mouse spiritually pierced my father's hands and it took out his money. We force people to wear cloaks of non-fulfillment, of celibacy, of poverty, which means that they cannot get married,